spring fever, or is it a sign of a bigger problem, maybe some attentional issues? Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living is here to talk more about it. Welcome, doctor.
Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. Quite a show so far.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Do you think we need help?
I think we both need some help, and that's why we've asked you to come on the show.
Free Therapy Wednesday.
Right. Right. Free Therapy Wednesday is how I think of this. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we have spring fever. But so, this is a big question for parents because, obviously ADHD is getting diagnosed a lot more. And people always wonder, is it because we're over-diagnosing, or are we just not letting kids be kids? Or how do we really know if it's just my kid wants to get outside and play, or it's something more?
So there's some really good distinctions here. And this is a really important question from a developmental standpoint. And I always like to look at things from a developmental standpoint. For the most part, what we want to know is developmentally, where does someone fall on an attentional spectrum? It's not really like a black and a white, like you have an attentional disorder or you don't have an attentional disorder. Very often, attentional disorders or attentional deficits are on a spectrum. It's only at a certain point that it hits a disorder. But you're looking at some key features and key symptoms, so it's a little bit more than just my child's a little bit antsy. We're looking for excessive hyperactivity. And, again, what is well beyond what would be typical for a child that age. There actually are some gender differences. Very often boys need to be more active than some girls, but certainly girls need activity level as well. So it's when high activity levels are sustained for a long period of time. And so often I have parents say, yes, but my child can be in front of a device for hours. Okay? And so what's different about that is that those devices, whether it's a video game or a handheld game, they are highly and so while they might be sitting for a long period of time, they're a highly stimulating game and actually keep their brain very active.
Yeah. You mentioned how it's different for boys and girls. We associate the typical boy jumping out of his seat, can't focus. But girls, sometimes the diagnosis is missed because they might not have the hyperactivity, but they could still not be able to focus in class.
What we often see with girls, and not all girls, but girls tend to have a little less of the hyperactivity component, but they still have the attentional issues. And so they're a little harder to diagnose until they get a little older, like middle school and high school, because in middle school and high school, it's when you have serious attentional deficits, it affects your organizational ability. And in middle school and high school, where tasks and assignments have multi-steps and they're longer term, and so organizational issues or organizational deficits are much more problematic and become more evident as certainly as girls get older, and you see the attentional issues more.
So you say by the time a child enters first grade, they often can focus on a task for 25 to 30 minutes. So teachers should, I guess they should they probably know that already, to tailor their lesson plans based around that time limit.
Yeah, and look, our teachers are professionals. They understand this. I frequently go to teachers for a good developmental perspective because they have a classroom of 20, 25 kids.
Right.
And they can tell you whether it's a first grade or a sixth grade or an eighth grade. They can tell you, yes, your child sits for a good amount of time and they can really attend, or no, your child is off the charts as compared to other kids in this classroom. And they can give you that really good perspective, especially more seasoned teachers when they see such diversity and what's more typical and atypical for kids.
Well, and it's important not to ignore this, right? Because a lot of people, they'll grow out of it, or they'll learn. But if there really is an attentional disorder,
what's the solution?
They can get accommodations. There's stuff that can help them throughout their school career.
Absolutely. And what the reason we want to identify these kids is because when you don't identify them, they feel constant failure in school. Because imagine it's like, Johnny, sit down. Johnny, stop tapping your pencil. Johnny, stop talking to the person next to you. And it's that constant negative attention becomes draining. And guess what? Then these kids don't like school. Right. And you know, they might have other forms of intelligence. They might be really good with mechanical stuff or other stuff. But when you have so many failure experiences in school, it makes you hate school. And when you hate school, you're less likely to graduate. You're less likely to pay attention. You're less likely to put effort in. So these kids need to be identified because schools can make accommodations. And I'm not even talking about the medication. That might be appropriate for some kids, but there's lots schools can do even before that point.
Okay. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Kara and I are a little off center today. We're on stools today as opposed to coming to you. So this has been a real learning experience for the both of us as well.
Clearly, it's stimulated your attentional and activity levels.
It really has.
Yeah, but you know, we're going to continue the conversation. Maybe I'll be a little bit calmer for Kara's Cures. People can watch on WFSB Plus. We'll get deeper into it, talk about really what you need to be asking and what accommodations might really help. Did you know you can get your kid a note taker? There's people who will take the notes for them, and that can really help them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I could have used a note taker.
Absolutely. Me too. All right. Thank you, doctor. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Doctor.